the blackness, keep the game on.
Welcome everybody to our Flytetyme interviews. This is Doug along with Paul and Wayne. We are collectively known as the Dynamic Duo. And we're very fortunate to bring you another Flytetyme interview with a vocalist that was with the premier group, Sounds of Blackness. We all know Sounds of Blackness from Africa to America and a lot of the stellar tracks that they put out under the direction and the production of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. We are pleased to bring to you Miss Jeanine Mcadams Nesbit.
All right.
Hello.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome.
Welcome, Jeanine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeanine. As we had talked previously, prior to the interview, we had a nice long discussion that I've made Paul and Wayne aware of. We had a nice long discussion about your entire background with not just Gary and the Sounds of Blackness, not just a vocalist, but also as a keyboardist, a choir director, an instrumentalist, a band leader. I mean, you definitely have run the gamut. And yes, we saw you on the video.
Yeah.
Chain. So, you know, you have a complete and long background behind you. And I think that being the case, the first question I'd like to ask is, how did you get started in music?
I was 4 years old. My mother, one of my mother's dearest friends, who was a Juilliard graduate.
Okay.
We went to their house for dinner, and she had two baby grands in the room, and I was 4 years old. I remember this, Mrs. Martin, and she sat and played. And my dad, he used to play the vibraphones by ear for fun, so I was always surrounded by music in the house.
Okay.
From Sergio Mendes to Dusty Springfield to whatever, to AM radio. We only had AM radio back then. There was no R&B stations back then except maybe 4 hours of KUXL. And so that in one ear, and then seeing Mrs. Martin play the piano, and then my Sunday school teacher. So from the age of 4 till I was about 6, I begged my mother I want to play the piano. I want to play the piano. I want to play the piano. Mommy, I want to play the piano. Nice. She wanted me in dance lessons. She had me in dance lessons and stuff like that. Right. I said, no, Mommy, I want to play the piano. And she bought me one of those little air organs, and I taught myself how to play Lean on Me by myself.
Like everybody did.
I was like 5 years old. Very simple. And then finally, our neighbors had a piano, and they were moving. So my neighbors, they rolled across, and I was just banging on that piano day and night. And she finally put me in piano lessons when I was about 6 years old. Okay. And I started with the community piano teacher, Mr. Whitaker. God rest his soul. And started with him. And I never practiced my lessons. I was always just tinkering around by ear, because that's what my dad did. You know, my dad was really good. He could play Roy Ayers or whatever by ear. but my dad was a St. Paul police officer, so he did that for relaxation. Okay. And I learned to, just tinker and tinker. So I came to a lesson one day with Mr. Whitaker, and I hit a wrong note. I didn't do it right, and he could tell I wasn't really practicing. And so he went, "That's not correct." And he gently tapped my hand, and I'm like, ah! I don't want to take from you. And I got hooked up with this real sweet Austrian man. I took for him for years, and then moved on to Reverend Carl Walker, who's the father of Tony Walker, who was with Richard Smallwood and Lettucey's music director, and helped.
Yeah, I know Tony. I know about him. Yeah,
you're in DC area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you know Tony.
Yeah.
So, and Tony was very instrumental in helping Lawrence Waddell of Mint Condition get started playing and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's basically how I started. So I've been playing since I was 6, basically.
Wow.
Nice.
I've been going on ever since. Wow.
And dare I say, I'm 57 today. So it's been a long time.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy
birthday.
My birthday was in February, but right now I'm 57 years old.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Every day is a birthday.
Okay, I was just going to sing for you, but I won't bother then.
That's okay.
And I can't even sing, so I wouldn't do that. one of the questions we wanted to know, you being a vocalist with the Sounds of Blackness, what was your first experience with the group, especially with Jimmy and Terry?
Actually, I'm not a vocalist. I was a musician. I came into the group as a musician.
Wow, okay.
I did do some background vocals on the recording, but my original, when I was brought in, it was as a keyboardist.
Right, okay, just keyboards, right.
Yeah.
So is there any other instruments you could play as well, apart from the keyboards?
I can play percussion. I used to play the drums a long time ago. I'm trying to get up on the guitar, but I'm primarily keys.
Okay.
Percussion.
Right, okay, wow. See, we were thinking that you were, I don't know how that came about, that you were a vocalist in the group, but I know it's such a large
I
band.
did sing on the recordings. I did do some of the background works on the recordings. And,
Right,
Okay.
so
okay.
I'm not Ann Nesbit, no.
Right, so what was your experience working with Jimmy and Terry?
It was fun, and it was eye-opening. It was comfortable. Flytetyme Studios was like a second home for everybody.
Right.
Much more so than Paisley Park. Paisley Park was cool. Paisley Park is huge, but Flytetyme was just like, I mean, and I mean, we all be out hanging out. We go to a restaurant, you see Jimmy and or Terry having dinner somewhere, or at the shop, see them at the shopping mall, you know, I mean, we were just hanging out. But being at Flytetyme, it was wonderful. And by the time I started working with them, they've already had, like, I think Rhythm Nation was already under the belt.
Right.
And stuff like that. As a matter of fact, members of my youth choir sang on the Rhythm Nation album.
Right.
Janet. And so they, Terry was very straightforward in terms of the business side of things.
We sort of got to that.
And I'll never forget that, you know, when we had the opportunity to tour Luther, Jimmy and Terry sponsored us on that tour.
Nice.
They came out of pocket to make sure we could get on that tour. We had to cut the group in half, which was fine. We made it work. But they came out of pocket to make sure we received salary, we were paid, to make up the deficit for what Luther was paying the act altogether. And I will never, and they want to make sure everybody was taken care of. We had the best, you know, for a large group, you know, we were just treated so well, and watching them in the creative process. I mean, it was just family. Janet was their little sister, you know, Mint were their boys, they were little, I mean, but I just remember, they're just really down to earth, and for them to accomplish what they've accomplished, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm just so proud of them. It's even beyond honored to work with them. I'm just so proud of them. Yeah. And just good people, and you know, just good people.
Oh, can't say more than that.
I mean, really, you can't.
Yeah, nice. That's a good testimony.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I will say also, when we submitted the initial music for Evolution of Gospel, the first Sounds Black CD, and they went back and Jimmy and Terry wrote and produced with Gary Optimistic. And so we were preparing for live performance for that. And there's all that synth bass in there, which Jimmy is just famous for.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, Jimmy stood next to me. I was, you know, because we all learned, ain't nothing written down, but not many of us can read, but that's okay. That's our culture. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'll never forget, Jimmy stood next to me and he said, let me show you what I did. And he showed me what he did on that synth bass part in Optimistic. Yeah. And so when we were on tour, we had our regular bass player, Mighty Joe Young. And so he did his string bass, and then I did synth bass and stuff. And like, I got a personal lesson from Jimmy.
Jimmy, that was one and only
Lesson 101 with Jimmy Jam.
James Howard III, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what's kind of funny? That story reminds me somewhat similar but opposite to the story we've all heard that Jimmy Jam is told when Prince first put together the Time, and
Oh,
Prince is like, Jimmy Jam,
Yeah.
with your left hand.
Yeah.
That was kind of opposite. Jimmy sat down with you and took you through the motions, but
yeah,
that always cracks me up when I hear that.
but that was their heart, because they love the sounds. And the sounds had done some background vocals like on Alexander O'Neal's Christmas album.
Oh yeah.
Like that.
Okay.
And like I said, we were a big happy family in the Twin Cities, and everybody knew Jam's dad.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Just turned 95 recently. God bless him. And and everybody knew Prince's dad too. Mr. John Nelson. But that was more my grandmother's day, but
Right.
prolific musician just the same. And Terry, now I'll tell you about Terry being a gentleman, but so coming into rehearsal, and I'm always the only girl in the band, okay? And I'm loading in, I had my D50 keyboard in a hard case, no wheels, and I'm backing my little Nissan Sentra up, and I'm loading in to the studio. And Terry walked in, he said, "Put that keyboard down." I'm like, "No, Jeanine, put it down now." He said, "Why aren't any of these knuckleheads helping you load that?"
The gentleman, the perfect gentleman.
I was like, Terry, and it's like, no, put it down. You ain't gonna be able to have no babies if you keep lifting that stuff. I don't have any babies today, by the way. But I mean, he was really upset. He's like, "Why aren't you all helping her? What's the matter with you all? Come on." I mean, he was really like mad.
I can believe it.
But then every time I came to rehearsal, somebody was, and I mean, Gary used to be like Mr. Universe and stuff. And,
Wow.
so, yeah, he was not happy seeing that. So
That sounds like really great times.
yeah, it was.
Oh man.
And we all had full-time day jobs.
All right.
And we'll be at Flytetyme till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I lived an hour away. So I'm beating the sun up to take a power nap to go to my job in the office the same day,
Wow.
And, but I was young, I could do that. But
Right.
most of us were,
Couple cups of coffee, you're okay. You're good to go.
just keep going. We had doctors and lawyers and everybody in the group. It was just, Gary worked for the Department of Human Rights, for the state of Minnesota for so many years. So it's just, but we still had such a passion. Then Gary was our choir director at my church.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So, and a lot of us in Sounds and other places in town, we were part of the Ranch Majestic Choir, and I was telling Paul earlier, Jeff Allen,
Yeah.
the group Next,
Yes.
Right, yeah.
they were in my youth choir.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, this is a small world all the time it comes together.
man.
So like I said, just like that.
Yes. Wow.
What you got, Paul?
Right. Okay, Jeanine. Now, we talk about Flytetyme, we talk about Jimmy and Terry, but what I want to know was how much was an influence of the late Big James Wright to the Sounds of Blackness while you were there?
Let me tell you about Jimmy. And I'm still stunned. I didn't even know he was sick, but anyway, Jimmy came in when Ann came in.
Mm-hmm.
And actually Jimmy replaced me in the group. So he didn't do the Luther tour, but Jimmy came in and just started writing. And Jam and Lewis loved his work and his compositions.
Mm-hmm.
And I regret not taking up Terry Lewis on his offer. He wanted me to submit some stuff too, but he could sing his face off. He could play his face off. His brother out of Rockford, Illinois. I mean, he was just no joke. you
Yeah.
know, from the get start, very talented. But one day I was at Paisley and the Sounds, I think we're going to work on something at Paisley Park. And I saw Big Jim pull up in this Cadillac. I'm like, okay, Jeanine, you messed up. But he did very well for himself. And everybody just loved him. And I was so proud of my, you know, I saw him on R&B Divas and I saw him on the Braxtons and, you know, all these shows because I know he was living in Atlanta.
Right.
And you know, the songs they wrote, he and Ann wrote with Patti LaBelle and Yolanda Adams and things like that. So
Right, yeah.
his influence, he brought in that church gospel influence into Flight-Tyme.
Yes.
And writing for Mariah Carey, you know.
I mentioned that,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's just, you know, that was to me much of a huge loss to us as Prince.
Right. Yeah, I think from what I understood that him and Jimmy Jam were pretty close, especially working together as well.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, like I said, I kick myself every day because I remember Terry Lewis came to me and he said, hey Jeanine, you know, I know you can do this, you know, just put something together and submit it to us. And I never did.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll hear something new from you shortly.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah. Good.
Sure, looking forward to that.
One of the questions we wanted to ask you was, working with Sounds of Blackness in the studios, which project would you say was the, what would you say that's your most favorite experience recording, and which song was your favorite one?
There is a song. I'll Fly Away. On
Okay.
Evolution
Oh
Gospel.
yeah.
Yes.
That one, yeah, I remember
I'll Fly
that.
Away and Wonderful Counselor.
Okay. Yeah.
And I did the string arrangements on that.
All right,
Oh,
Look at you.
nice.
All right.
I'll keep my ear, I'll go for that one again.
Yeah.
Do it more intent. Definitely.
Yes, definitely.
And I didn't do any recording on it. No, I did the vocal recording on it. Background was Stan.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Those three stand out to me.
Right. Optimistic, as you know, this is a question by Paul. Sorry, Paul. Is probably arguably the most popular song from the group. You know, what was your experience when you were performing or even rehearsing for that song?
When we first heard the demo, I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is incredible. This is so uplifting. I mean, we knew it was going to do something, but mind you, I had heard Pretty Brown Eyes, or first pass of Pretty Brown Eyes before that.
Right.
And I was losing my mind.
So are we. Trust me.
And, you know, but hearing Optimistic, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is amazing. And it was so fun. And to this day, I was sharing with Doug, to this day, I have people, when they find out I was in Sounds or whatever here in Orlando, I have people, young people, like in their 20s today, saying that song saved my life. I can think of 5, 6 people that song saved my life, and they're in their 20s. So it has endured over, you know, yeah, it's now 30 years this year.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
30 years next month 30 years this month that Evolution Gospel was released.
That's right.
And so, oh my God, 30 years. And I can remember it like yesterday. So when we started working, and that's what I'm saying, you know, Jam stood next to me and showed me the bass line, you know, while we were rehearsing and preparing for it. And then when we sang it on the Luther Vandross tour, I mean, everybody were up on their feet and they were singing it with us. And when we did it on Arsenio Hall, oh my God, we just lit the place up. And the first time we did it on Arsenio Hall show, then Johnny Gill, Jasmine Guy, and Karen White.
Yeah, remember that performance?
Yeah.
That's an iconic performance. Up to today, people are still watching it.
That was Halloween 1991. And the
Right.
reason why I remember that is because in Minnesota, they had the blizzard of the century. They dipped like 4 feet of snow in 6 hours in Minneapolis.
Right.
So, and it takes that much snow to shut the Twin Cities down, because normally
Right.
we get like 7 inches to a foot of snow and we still keep going.
Yeah.
I'm watching my grandmother's house on CNN that day. But it was so exciting, and to see, you know, thinking about you can win as long as you keep your head to the sky, you know, and never say die, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
optimistic. You know, a lot of people didn't even know what that word meant,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So it meant a lot, and to this day, you know, yeah, the blackness keep on.
Yeah. It's still an anthem.
It's
That's
an,
what it is. It's an anthem.
they're doing a 1-year commemoration of George Floyd's death in Minneapolis, from my understanding, and I'm hoping the Sounds will be performing. I don't know who's
Right.
gonna be there, but I'm hoping that's one of the songs that'll be blaring in the streets that day, because it's so poignant. It's so, yeah. And when
It's-
people come to me say that song saved my life, and I'm like, what?
It is. It's a very moving song, and yet, what's so great about that song is that it's also a dance song. You know, you were hearing this in clubs. I mean, I remember when I picked up that album when I was in England, you know, and then when I go to clubs, next time I'm hearing this in the clubs and remixes, and you know, some people didn't even know it was a gospel song, but it was such a powerful song.
But see, this is the thing. Did you see us when we were in London the first time? In 91, summer of 91?
I was there when Luther Vandross performed, but I don't remember seeing Sounds of Blackness.
We were in London in summer of 91 before we did the Luther tour.
Oh,
One of the music festivals way out somewhere, west something,
right.
way out in the field somewhere. Anyway, Sounds of Blackness, and this was the other hard thing about Sounds. When first of all, Janet Jackson asked them, Janet came to one of our shows. We had like 3 productions. We had Night Before Christmas, we had the 60s show, and we had Music for Martin. I think Janet was coming to see us. She always would come and see us when she was in town. And she came to see Music for Martin. And I think it was one of the first times she heard the group, or was really paying attention to the group. And we did a lot of spirituals and gospel in that particular show. Anyway, she turned to Jimmy and just said, why don't they have a record deal?
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't know. But anyway, and that's how it started forming Perspective Records under A&M. But I'm saying that to say that it was hard when we were brought on to Perspective Records, and it was us in Mint Condition, and they were trying to figure out who to release first, because we were all in the studio at the same time, you know.
Right.
Hopefully helped me put my samples together for the tour and stuff like that. So but anyway, you know, it's like it's a gospel group. Sounds of Blackness has never been a gospel group, and it's 50 years of existence. It's not a gospel group. It's a music group or troupe that does music of the Black experience.
Right, gotcha.
Right.
Those are the albums.
So it was so hard, though our Grammy was Best New Gospel Artist,
Right.
you know, and we're like, okay, that's cool. But ultimately, Optimistic was put out because we weren't a gospel group. And the record, A&M, you know, anybody, they didn't know how, you know, because there was no, you know, Kirk Franklin and the family.
Yeah.
You know, there was none of that. We were it, you know, back then. And message music, I think they were calling it message music at the time. I think, was it Journey and New Jersey Mass, Did I Want to Know What Love Is, back in the 80s or something like that. It was like it, you know, or just a Prayer, Madonna. But no, we, it was just hard. So when they decided to do Optimistic and the pressure, get those songs out there, you know, it's just to get a taste, because that's how you do it, you know, when you these albums. So it, but we wanted to convey the message of humanity and power. And we're Black, yes, but we're also human beings. We are proud of our culture and our heritage. We are descendants of slaves, you know, and our culture and our music set the world pop culture. the
Yes.
worldwide pop culture, from the jazz to the blues to the rock to the rockabilly to the country, you know, all of that, how we dress, the colloquialisms, all of that. And we wanted to bring that together where it was palatable for everyone, but still be true to ourselves.
And you delivered it well, I must say, you did. You guys do a fantastic job, and you know, up to today, I still think the music from Sounds of Blackness, I will say I don't see anyone get into that level, what you guys have achieved and how you sound, you know, but there's so many groups now you're seeing, they're using the flavors and the essence of the Sounds of Blackness.
Yeah. But that's the brilliance of Gary Hines. Gary, because 99% of the arrangements are Gary's. And he would test the arrangements, like I'll Fly Away.
Right.
My friend Yolanda, who just passed away, I was telling you earlier, she was the original lead vocalist on that song when we sang it in church.
Right.
And it went from, you know, and the way Gary started out, he started out kind of like the hymn, "Some glad morning," you know, and he went dun 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 dun, going to, you know, just went straight up gospel big band on it. Right. And to put the vocal arrangement in itself, I mean, we're talking 5 to 6, 7 part harmony, you know, before take 6, you know, and all this kind of stuff. He had all that up here in his head. And, you know, and he always talked, you know, I think he refers to, you know, a divine download, but the other brilliance with the sounds, not anybody and everybody can sing in the sound. Just because you can like really sing, everybody can't, because for Gary, what he's listening to is blend, quality and blend. Right. And he said, you can put together a lot of lead singers, and I've seen this, fantastically vocalists, and you put them together in a choral situation, and it sounds like a hot mess because everybody's trying to out-sing one another. They're not listening. But his arrangements, and he can hear every individual voice, and people have been invited to be in the group, and people have auditioned to be in the group, and he knows where to put the voice, what part to put them on and stuff like that. And I call that the brilliance of Gary Hines.
Nice one. Doug?
Piggybacking off that, that whole explanation, Jeanine. So Gary is a powerhouse when it comes to putting the vocal arrangements together, putting together the entire song. So you guys went on tour with Luther. On the other hand, you had Jimmy Jam sitting down with you and showing you some synth-based parts. Overall, give me an idea of how rehearsal was run. Was it Gary that was overarching, doing everything? Was Jam and Lewis kind of in there as well from the musical side? How did that work?
Well, the musicians in the Sounds of Blackness have been playing together for years. So we, you know, knew all the music and stuff. We rehearsed at Flytetyme, and Gary ran rehearsals, and they were closed rehearsals. We would do sections. So sometimes we just do band. Right. And then sometimes we do band and vocal, or Gary would just rehearse with the vocalists. Right. And sometimes, you know, I'd sit on those rehearsals just to kind of hear how things are going and whatnot. But yeah, at Flytetyme, like the day when Jam showed me the bass parts, that was just a band rehearsal that day. Okay. And we were learning Optimistic, and we were learning the Pressure part 1, you know. Yeah. And so yeah, we would do those sectionals. We rehearsed 2 times a week for 3 to 4 hours. And first, some nights we rehearsed at McAllister College, where the group was founded in St. Paul, or at Sabathani Community Center in Minneapolis, not far from where George Floyd was killed, ironically. And to this day, 50 plus years later, they still have rehearsals at least on Tuesday nights at Sabathani Community Center.
Oh, that's nice.
That's fantastic.
To this day. And Gary is still running the rehearsals to
this day.
Wow.
That's dedication for you right there.
It is. It is.
Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You did. What I was wondering is actually, as you were talking, a lot of those examples you gave, I've been a church guitarist for 25 years. And
Okay.
yeah, the musicians rehearse on one night, and we got sectionals where the vocalists do their sectionals, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass, and then they bring everybody together right on a Saturday and pull everything together. So yeah, I'm very aware of what you're talking about, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, and it is the best way, to do it. And I remember there was a time where he was training, Gary was training because he was a bodybuilder and he competed.
Okay. Wow.
And he was training and he come with, I call it the green goop bottle, and he sit at the piano and he was teaching parts, and he has perfect pitch, by the way. And he was sitting there, and he's not a singer, but he could teach the parts, and he'd take a swag of this goop, and I was like, oh, what is that stuff? It's like these protein drinks before people knew what protein drinks were.
Yeah.
And then he go work out, and then he work on arrangements, stuff like that. But, and I'm hoping, I got to tell Gary about this, because I would love for you all to interview him too, if you get an opportunity to do that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be
Oh,
great.
Tell you
fans,
about that.
our members would love to hear from him as well. You bet.
Yeah, for sure. Jeanine, we were talking earlier, well, not we, but you mentioned a few minutes ago about Perspective Records and how the Sounds of Blackness was, one of the original groups on Perspective Records.
Mhm.
Now, having said that, that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are coming up with their Volume 1 collection. And remember, the first single, the lead single last year, was by The Sound of Blackness,
Yeah.
To Like You. What are your thoughts of the reunification of, Sounds of Blackness back on Perspective Records for this project and the song itself?
I'm so excited, and I keep messaging Gary. Gary, I'm a full-time musician. Call me. I'll come home. Whatever, I'll go where you want to go. I'm just so excited and so happy. And 50 years. This group's been together 50 years.
Yeah, I saw the bar. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
This group got together 6 years old, 6 or 7 years old, and
Gosh.
an institution, like
Yeah.
Flytetyme, like
Yeah.
Paisley Park, like Prince, all institutions. And I'm sweating. It's a little hot, but anyway, yeah, it just I'm just so thrilled, so proud. And I don't talk, and it's so funny because people, hear, I didn't know, I let the word spread itself, because I don't go around, oh, it sounds like this weird. I don't do that. I'm very proud of that. But yeah, it's exciting. I'm so proud of Jimmy and Terry, and I'm just, even working with Babyface,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff. And
So you're like us here, it's very anxiously awaiting for this album to drop.
yes,
Definitely.
and if they tour it, I'm waiting for a call.
You heard it, guys.
Yeah.
Jeanine wants to
I'm
tour
waiting
with
for
Jimmy and Terry.
There-
You gotta get her back.
We'll put it out there for you. Don't
But
worry.
they say once a Sounds of Blackness member, always a Sounds of Blackness member. Gary
true.
keeps telling me that. So,
I can believe that. I can believe that.
but it's family. It's family, and it's yeah, it's amazing. And I just like, God, those are my people.
I know we don't have much time, but I have one question to ask you, because I think this is a story I think everybody should hear. I'm going to take you back to your touring days. I heard the Sounds of Blackness went to Amsterdam.
Oh yes. I was
Yes.
talking about this the other
So
day.
you got to tell this story. So please do.
So,
Okay. My stories are like off stage or backstage stories. Two of the members in Sounds of Blackness, they were ex-military, and they've been stationed in Germany. So they knew everything. And one gentleman's name was Robert Edwards, and I just talked to Robert like 5 days ago, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. And we were talking about Amsterdam. And first thing, getting off the bus and seeing Black people come to you, but speaking in Dutch.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm like, And I'm sitting here, and then I start feeling some kind of way. I said, oh yeah, this is the country that colonized South Africa. So we're still in apartheid when this is going down. So anyway, so I started feeling some kind of way, but it was so good to see very nice, warm people. And I'm like, but why are they here? Well, behind our hotel, we stay at the Radisson, and behind our hotel, everything is very open. They're very unrepressed nation sexual. And which, I think is a good thing, because, you go to the lecture chair if you rape somebody. I mean, they don't play, but it's a whole industry. And then so we're walking around, and there's like these life-size demonstrations of different toys behind our hotel. It's just like walking down doing window shopping like on International Drive.
Right.
Second thing, next day we were walking through the streets, and MCA Records, we were there to do a concert with a European artist. I still don't even know who it was to this day. And we were walking down the streets, and we had our Sounds of Blackness garb on, which was like the baseball caps and the warm-up suits. And at the time, I would wear my hair, when I had the baseball cap, I wore my hair in a ponytail, okay, out the back. And then I had these silver earrings, and they had crosses on them, okay? So we're walking down the street, and this guy, Johnny Jackson, whoosh, I got swamped and swarmed. I'm like, and people were, Johnny Jackson. And I mean, I don't know where all these people came from. There had to have been at least 200 people that came out of nowhere, literally. So next thing I knew, it was, I think, Joe Young, I thought Gary, and Jimmy Jam had to literally lift me up and get me through the crowd out of the swarm. So that was really very interesting. And then later on, we were in New York. Madison Square Garden, and Janet came to the show, and we were backstage. And I said, and Janet and I, we've never been formally introduced after all these years, And so they said, Janet, this is your twin Jeanine. I'll think about it later. Like, but she gave me the warmest handshake and a hug, and we took a picture together. You've seen it on my page and stuff. Just a doll, just a sweetheart. Other than that, we did a concert in a church across the street from the hotel, and it was really crazy because the way they set up my keyboard stand was starting to collapse in the middle of the show. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here, and everybody chain smokes in Amsterdam too. Ooh. Even in the church, they chain smoke. So anyway, my keyboard is in my hand. I'm playing it in my hand so it doesn't drop. And I'm trying to get the technician at the side of the stage, and he's just sitting there smoking a cigarette. And I'm like,
the world.
So I had to finish the song, and then I finally got a chance to get it back and screw everything back together. But yeah, so those are my Amsterdam experiences. But a fascinating city. It
is.
We were warmly welcomed. We really were.
Doug?
Well, Jeanine, I was telling you off interview that I was chatting with Jimmy Jam earlier this week.
Oh.
And I said, Jimmy Jam, in my best Prince voice. So we're going to be talking to a young lady you remember by the name of Jeanine Mcadams Nesbit. And that was the end of the conversation, because Jimmy Jam and I lately have been talking a lot of shop keyboards and production.
Right.
And I was saying, Jam, look, when Volume 1 drops, I want to hear all about the songs and everything, but I want to hear about the production that's different from the 80s to now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm still waiting for an answer from him back. But that being the case, I'm going to give you a little time to give Mr. Harris any message you want to give him right now.
Oh my goodness. Jam, I love you and I miss you, and I'm so happy for and very proud of you. I was really proud of you when you were with the Grammy organization, and you have a beautiful family. Please tell your wife, Lisa, I still wear hats. She influenced my hats and stuff. But I love you, man. I miss you. Thank you. Thank you for being so giving, and so you and Lewis both, you and Terry both, so giving and mentoring, coaching, and loving with us. It's just, I'm just so proud of you. You're from the Minneapolis, in the Twin Cities. Love you all dearly. I hope one day we'll get to work together again, if for a brief moment, or at least get to say hi. The last time I think I actually got to say hi to you was at a Timberwolves game many years ago.
Yeah.
But or I think, or on a date with my now husband at Rudolph's. But very proud of you, man. Love you dearly, and thank you for all you do, have done, and will do. God bless you. Mwah, mwah.
Oh, well said. Well, I know that you have to go, so we want to.
I actually do have a few more minutes. I got 20 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Well, let's roll, Paul.
Let me
Swing
say,
another one.
Jeanine, tell us, considering what you're about to go and do, tell our audience what it is you're doing right now and any place they can find you. But just tell the audience what you're doing now. You're a band leader, musician. You've got Audacity, Divine Soul. Fill us in real quick.
Right now, I'm still here I'm in Orlando, have been here for about 25 years. I used to be a stage manager at Disney, but now I just perform at Disney. I usually try to post videos of myself performing when I can get them. But working with Audacity, and I play for different other bands in town. And so right, I'm getting ready to embark on finally working on a solo project. I had a gentleman that approached me about managing my career, which is the first time anyone has ever done that. So I'm excited about that.
Right.
Hoping to be on tour and stuff. So I'm a full-time musician, and I'm not playing in church anymore right now, but at some point I probably will go back into music ministry. But I'm trying to write and get my catalog up, and so I'll keep posting things to Facebook, and I got to get better about Instagram. I'm working on it. Instagram and LinkedIn and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm on Nean Move, I think is my Instagram.
Okay.
And I'm Jeanine Mcadams Nesbit, and which soon will be Jeanine Mcadams.
Cool.
And and even the house band, Princess House Band TKO. We just did a video in February.
Right.
We posted a video, so I'll make sure you get a link to that.
Yeah, please do.
Send it all. I mean, just include it in our description with this interview. So just send us everything. See?
Okay. And I think the bio that I sent you, Doug, has a lot of those links in it too.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah, that's an excellent bio. Excellent bio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, keep it moving. The name of my production company is Musician of Virtue Enterprises.
Yeah.
Okay. For short.
Right.
And my mantra is keep it moving.
Keep it moving. That's it.
Right.
I like that. I like that.
Now, Jeanine, I want to ask you a question. I was doing a little bit of research, and I came across this bit of trivia, which I did not even know. In 1994, the World Cup USA was held in the USA at that time. And apparently, I did not realize that the Sons of Blackness had the official theme song of the World Cup. With Daryl Hall, of all people, Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates, which I did not know. What was that like?
I forgot about that. And at the time, I wasn't with the group. I was actually in Prince's house band at that time, I got married. And but I'd forgotten about that. So, but still, it's just amazing, what they've done. And you're like with Ann Nesby, looking up and seeing Ann Nesby's granddaughter on American Idol. And I've known that child since she was 3. Paris Bennett, who could still sing her face off. Yeah. And her mother's a very prolific vocalist. But yeah, it's just, I had completely forgotten about that. But still very proud of the sounds and everything they do. And Gary goes to Japan a lot. Gary has been going to Japan and teaching gospel music to these Japanese and Korean groups, and they're just phenomenal, so. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So everybody's doing something. Billy Steele, who was the other keyboardist in the group, I just talked to him the other day. He's a minister of music, but his family, was in Graffiti Bridge. And they used to sing with Prince all the time. And his sister Geraldine was in Prairie Home Companion, the movie. and his other sister Javita was in Corinna with Whoopi Goldberg. She was the club singer singing This Little Light of Mine and Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And so a lot of very talented composers and writers and performers and doing theater and everything. I do theater, and hopefully my next production I'll do soon, but the last show I did here theatrically was Dreamgirls. I was a music director for Dreamgirls.
Oh,
Nice. Big
oh,
one.
all right.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
we the original script. We didn't do the movie. We did the actual original Broadway version. So
No, that's great though. Broadway, that's great.
Wow, that's fantastic. What was one of your or the group's biggest performance? 'Cause I know that the band could be very large, but like how many members could the band go up to?
in total, the group was 40, and some of our biggest shows, because we had horn sections and things like that, and the other 20 plus vocalists. Some of our productions, our theatrical productions, The Night Before Christmas, a musical fantasy written by Gary, a lot of original music in that. Music from Martin, we would do some gospel and spirituals with a narrator. And then the Motown show, which is my very first performance with the Sounds, was doing the Motown, what they call the 60s show. And we kind of did like an Apollo theater thing, and we had people imitating groups like the Supremes and the Temps and stuff. But to me, the biggest performance, other than the Luther tour that we did, was the Special Olympics was in St. Paul in 1991.
Okay.
And I got to meet Senator Ted Kennedy and his sister, Mrs. Shriver.
Wow.
And we were performing right in front of the state capitol, which was normal for us because we always did a Martin Luther King Day performance somewhere in St. Paul. But yeah, to me, the Special Olympics was really amazing. And then the Luther Vandross tour, but we only had half of the group on the Luther.
Did you like ever have like any stage fright, performing with such prestigious people?
One time I had stage fright, and that's what it was one night at Glam Slam, Prince's Club, and we were told Prince was coming down and he was going to jam with us. He wanted to do a song with us. And, I played there many times before and stuff like that. But when Kurt called and said, yeah, the boss is coming down, we're going to do Love and Happiness and a blues song. I'm like, and then I just started shaking. And at the time I lived with my mom, and and I'm just like, and I just start rocking back and forth, sweating, and I'm like, oh, mommy. And I was scared to death. I was so nervous. I'm like, oh, mommy. And I started crying. And she's like, what is the matter with you? I said, Prince is gonna play with us tonight. And forgetting that Prince has been watching our rehearsals, because we rehearsed at Paisley Park. So forgetting that he watches our rehearsals, forgetting that he sat in, oh my God, oh my God. Oh. My mother fixed me a cup of tea, and she sat down, she said, come here. And I had to lay my head on my mother's lap, and I had to sit there for an hour to calm down.
Wow.
And then by the time I got to the venue, I was fine. But that was the only time, even the first night of the Luther Vandross concert, I wasn't scared. We were in front of 65, 75,000 people in Hampton, Virginia. And, but I wasn't scared. I'm not scared of the big crowds. It's the little crowds.
Intimate.
Because it's so intimate. They're like right up on you.
Yeah.
Whereas the big thing, you don't necessarily, if you hear people, you're good. If you hear the crowd roaring and stuff, you're really good. But those small, intimate crowds and stuff, I get really nervous.
That's nice.
So, Jeanine, I'm going to give you real quick, because I know you're pressed for time, but I'll give the audience a little background on how we actually got Jeanine on the Flytetyme interviews. I was looking at a post in the Facebook group, and I believe, if I remember correctly, we were just starting to put out the promo information for Kerry Lewis's interview.
Mhm, mhm.
And people were dropping some comments in there, and Jeanine happened to say, I didn't know who Jeanine was, but she happened to say something to the effect of congrats to my label mates or something like that. And I said,
That's
who the hell is this woman? Has to be on Perspective Records somewhere. So I got on Google and started doing some research, and it turns out that obviously you were the Sounds of Blackness. So in our pre-conversation, you mentioned earlier what you said in the interview, and that is Flytetyme's a big family. So we've come to find out, Paul, myself, and Wayne, that there's some other people who have been along the Flytetyme journey that you know of, such as Kerry Lewis, who's not in the Facebook group, but Sue Owens.
Oh, I just heard from Sue the other day. Yeah.
Debbie Morrison.
We're trying to get Sue in.
Yeah.
And you told me that you worked with Stokely and you worked with Kerry. So I'm going to give you a second chance, and not only shout out Jam and Lewis, but shout out your Flytetyme family that you know of. That's
oh my God. Low key.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lance L.A. Alexander.
Yeah.
Bandmates with Brown Mark. That's where I first met Lance.
Wow.
And then Low Key, he brings Low Key in. Lance, another prolific songwriter producer. Amazing.
He is.
And so yeah, those guys. And then there was a group called Crush.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. They came out of Texas. And then I think there was a group called, I can't even remember their original name. First Impression.
Yes.
First Impression, of which one of the lead singers was Kirk Franklin's wife, Tammy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah. I met Tammy. I actually did a little small tour with Tammy they eventually renamed the group Ashanti, but I think it was Popeye Greer that found them. Okay. They came up from Houston.
Right.
So, but then who else am I thinking of? Mint. I'm trying to think of who else, because I mean we were all so self-contained, and Flytetyme was a production house.
Yeah.
So Perspective Records was a new thing because it, an actual record label. Right. And Sue has been with Jam and Lewis from the very beginning.
Yes, she has.
And when Debbie came along, and just a doll, I just love Debbie. I miss them so very much. And at the time, I got to do a show with Karen White, because at the time her and Terry were together, and she was just a sweetheart to work with. And I'd see her around the studios and things like that. But she wasn't with their label. I'm just trying to think. Flytetyme was originally a band.
Yes, it was.
Exactly.
And and Cynthia Johnson was the lead singer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Flytetyme, if I recall.
Went on to be with Lip Sync.
Lip Sync. Her and at the time, I think her boyfriend, I can't remember, but they did Funky Town.
That's right.
But Cynthia sang in church all over and whatnot. So, and she was a member of the Sounds of Blackness too at one point.
Oh. Okay.
Alexander O'Neill. Actually, his MD had called me and asked me to tour with Alexander O'Neill, and I declined it. Okay. And stuff. But Alex, and I'm trying to think, and Janet wasn't with Perspective, but when she was in town doing recording stuff, she would, she was shy, but she knew Gary very well. She knew everybody, and she was very comfortable and stuff. So yeah, it just and then other than Mint, Mint, Crush, Low Key.
Oh, Solo.
Pardon me?
Solo.
I don't remember.
Solo?
No, I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
They were what, 95?
I wasn't in the Sounds then. And matter of fact, I got married in 94. Right. So I was on the Prince camp side of things.
Right. All right. That's right.
Yeah, I probably can't remember that.
Right.
Jeanine, I wanted to ask a question. The Sounds of Blackness, The Night Before Christmas
Yeah.
album, and the Alexander O'Neal, My Gift to You, two of the biggest Christmas albums ever. What was the atmosphere like recording that and when it was launched? What was it like for the group?
I never recorded with Alex, and I never recorded the Night Before Christmas album. That was after I left.
Oh, okay.
That shows a tradition in the Twin Cities. That shows at least 35, 40 years old.
Right.
And so never did the recordings, but I knew all the music because we've done it every year. And I think my first year doing the Christmas show was 89. Was it 88 or 89? I think it was my first year doing the Christmas show. But turns out two of the songs, or one of the songs we have done in the gospel Christmas show here at Disney.
Okay.
And how that happened, at the time I was in production and management at Disney Entertainment, and I went to the casting director, and I bought a Night Before Christmas package when they released that album. That's because they had bought some other group down from New York to do a gospel Christmas thing. I said, if you're gonna bring them, you might as well bring the Sounds of Blackness down here. You know? You know, and everybody knew my background, even at my job. And so I left the package, and well, fast forward 7-8 years later, I'm in rehearsal. I auditioned and got into this Christmas show, and then they started doing The Jolly One Is Here. And I'm like, I know that song. You know, like what? I said, I was in Sounds of Blackness. That's the Sounds of Blackness. That's a Gary Hines arrangement.
Yeah.
You know, there's composition and arrangement. You know, and I said, do you know what they're talking about? 8 fine reindeer. Do you know what that means? You know, stuff like that. So, and it's just a fun show. But yeah, I did not do the recordings for either one of those albums.
Yeah, nice. I know we're coming up on the top of the hour, Jeanine, and I can speak for Paul and Wayne. We're very thankful that you decided to interview with us. But before we officially close it out, I just want to check with Paul and Wayne to see if they had any other questions before we give Jeanine the last word.
No other questions, but just a statement. Jeanine, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, you know, getting so much background info on the Sounds of Blackness, and to remind people, even myself, which I did research recently, that, you know, Sounds of Blackness have been around as old as, excuse me, I won't say anything, but yeah, nearly 50 years. I won't say it, but yeah, 50 years. Actually, yeah,
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, long time, you know, and I like the way, I mean, I never envisioned, as you said, I always envisioned Sound of Blackness as a gospel group, but you put a different perspective, and I'm looking at it differently now. So I'm going to, and the albums, the names of all the albums suggest, and it ties back to the group name, the theme of the group, and what they represent. So thanks for clearing that up for us. Really appreciate that.
We do so much. And Jeanine, all I want to say is that thank you so much for blessing us with great music and being part of that experience, especially with Flytetyme, the Perspective label industry. And again, we would love to have you back again on the show.
Oh, I would love to.
We're looking forward to hearing new music from you as well. Feel free to give us a holler and let us know what you're doing.
Okay, I will.
You know? And I think that's about it. Doug, you want to sign off for everyone here?
I got nothing. I'm going to turn it over to Jeanine. And if you don't have, if you have anything else you want to leave us with, please do.
I want to say thank you to the three of you, the dynamic duo. I love it. Thank you for your page. When I found your page, when I made that comment about my label mate, I'd only been part of the group for like 3 or 4 days.
Oh,
you know?
Wow.
Yeah. And but I've been seeing the postings, and I'm like, wow, these guys are serious. And then Doug, when I talked to you, and I'm like, I just am so grateful that people are out there really appreciating Flytetyme.
Yes.
And I know with the death of Prince and everything, how prolific that was.
yeah.
But Jam and Lewis, man, I mean, they were just as prolific as Prince.
Right.
You know, he knew it, you know, and I think, you know, he did love and respect them too and stuff. But Jam and Lewis, you know, they were, it's just so fortunate, and I'm just grateful to all of you keeping the awareness of that legacy alive. And so on behalf of Minnesota, the Twin Cities, Sounds of Blackness, Flytetyme, everybody, I want to say thank you all. Thank you so kindly. And
Thank you so much. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you very much, Jeanine. Thank you very much.
fabulous.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us now to the end of our Flytetyme interview. So please remember to subscribe to us at YouTube. You can like and subscribe to the Dynamic Duo, also to hashtag Flytetyme Interviews. Again, thank you to our guest, Jeanine Mcadams Nesbit, for joining us. We look forward more from her. And you can join the Dynamic Duo also on UK246.com as we present the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis collection. And tonight's edition will be called Nobody Does It Better. A great theme. And Jeanine, if you're listening tonight, you're gonna love it. We have some great uplifting music and music you're familiar with as well. So again, thank you so much. On behalf of myself, Doug, Paul, we as a Dynamic Duo, we're signing off, and peace. Thank you, Jeanine.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks.
Blackness. Keep the game on.